In my previous life, I boldly recommended myself to Grandpa William, claiming that marrying me would bring fortune and prosperity to his family. After James Carter and I got married, things really did turn around for him. I helped an old lady cross the street, I helped him get a promotion and a raise, I saved a little girl who fell into the water, and I even helped him win $10 million in the lottery. I used up the blessings I had accumulated over 1,000 years to bring wealth and luck to the Carter family. I truly believed that our marriage would be loving and harmonious from then on, but on our wedding anniversary, James took me up a mountain, supposedly to pray for the family's well-being. As soon as we reached the top, he pulled out a knife and forced me to the edge of a cliff. You used tricks to force Grandpa to let me marry you, and because of you, Sarah was so heartbroken that she jumped off this cliff and died. Today is the anniversary of her death. It's time for you to go down and join her. He didn't even give me a chance to scream, shoved a giant boulder after me to make sure my body was crushed beyond recognition. But when I opened my eyes again, I was back in time, to the moment I first met James Carter. He looked at me with disgust and spat, "In your past life, you schemed to marry me and steal Sarah's lucky star destiny. Don't even dream about it this time." I smiled coldly. So, he was reborn too and already accusing me of stealing destiny? If he thought I was here to rekindle old feelings, he couldn't be more wrong. I came back not to repay the favor of the last life, but to collect the debt from it. As an intern at the Heavenly Tao Agency, my mission this lifetime is to turn every blessing from the past into misfortune now, using the laws of heaven to make him atone for the sins he committed. Bad boy, she's the master I invited to read your marriage fate. Who said she wants to marry you? James, cocky from his past life's experiences, scoffed. Grandpa, don't be fooled by her. She's only approaching you to replace Sarah and trick you into marrying me off. Grandpa William was furious and slapped him across the face. Sarah fell in love with you when you had nothing, like a stray dog, and you still can't forget her. Wake up. But James continued stubbornly. Sarah was just encouraging me to improve. Grandpa, why can't you see that she was my destined lucky star? In my past life, I underestimated the karmic blessings James's grandmother had accrued, which is why I was assigned to marry him. I thought I was fulfilling the old man's dying wish to bring wealth and harmony to the Carter family, but I never imagined James would believe I stole Sarah's fortune. Now, the old man turned to me and asked impatiently, "So, what do you see in my grandson's horoscope? How's his marriage fate?" James glared at me. "I know your tricks. Don't even think of ruining me and Sarah." I smiled faintly. "Why would I want to ruin you? I wish you'd tie yourself up with her forever." He wasn't wrong, Sarah was indeed a perfect match for him. James stared at me, stunned, and Grandpa William just sighed. To bring the lucky star into the family as quickly as possible, James proposed to Sarah the very next day. He used all his savings to plan a lavish proposal, fooling Sarah into believing he had struck it rich. He even took out loans from various platforms just to put together a down payment for a house. Sarah was moved and said she was willing to marry him for love. But the day after their engagement, karma struck. In the last life, this was the day James got promoted and rewarded. This time, however, he was berated in front of his entire company. He couldn't believe it. During lunch break, he wandered the streets, helping every old lady he saw cross the road just like I had taught him in the last life. But what he didn't understand was that without my help, his good deeds meant nothing. The divine punishment set for this life would ensure that no matter what he did, he would suffer. That afternoon, he was suspended from work without pay. That evening, he came pounding on my door. "Emily Harper, I know you were reborn too. You're deliberately sabotaging me, aren't you? I'm telling you now I won't bow to you. In this life, I only recognize Sarah Miller." I glanced at the progress bar above his head, barely at 1%. He'd only just started his path of punishment. The road ahead would be long and agonizing. But James still had the audacity to say, "Don't think your little tricks will work. With Sarah by my side, I'm untouchable." I was genuinely curious why he was so sure Sarah was his lucky star. Aren't they mortals who call this kind of stuff feudal superstition? But no matter if he believed it, that just made it easier for me. The more he clings to the joy of his past life, the harsher the fall will be this time around. Just wait, James Carter. You'll cry soon enough. While James was busy confronting me, Sarah Miller wasn't idle either. She brought her mother and 4 or 5 middle-aged women to my shop, and by the time I was called in by the police, the floor was littered with broken vases and shattered decorations. It was a small metaphysical store I had opened in the mortal world. I did tarot readings for young people, horoscopes for the elderly, basically anything related to spiritual guidance. Sarah's mother stormed in first. You tricked my neighbor's daughter into coming here every day. What kind of scam tarot reading is this? I replied calmly. I've always read cards to make friends, not money. Charging $1 doesn't make it a scam. But Sarah's mother wouldn't let it go. You're promoting superstition. You should be arrested. And then the aunties started smashing everything right in front of the police. When the last of the vases were destroyed, they turned to the mural high up on the wall, a hand-drawn painting gifted to me by a little girl I once comforted before she passed away. I warned them not to touch it. If you break it, you can't afford the compensation. One of them sneered. You treat a kid's drawing like some treasure. The 5 of them were so chaotic that even the police couldn't stop them. Once the glass frame was shattered, they ripped the artwork to shreds. I clenched my fists. All right, you forced me to do this. The aunties looked smug, thinking they had the upper hand. So what if they smashed your shady little store that scams people? We did the world a favor. I sneered. You sound proud of yourselves. I hope you're just as bold when it's time to pay. Sarah chimed in, her voice dripping with mockery. Emily Harper, it's one thing to scam people for pocket change, but now you want us to pay for those broken pieces of junk. Are you insane? I didn't even waste words. I pulled a folder out from under the counter and handed it to her. Why don't you check the value of what you destroyed before talking nonsense? Sarah's face drained of color the moment she flipped through the pages. Right then, James Carter arrived on the scene. Seeing his precious sweetheart look terrified, he rushed over and started barking. You tormented Sarah in your last life. Are you really still bullying her now? Do you think I'll just stand by and let it happen? Sarah's tears came instantly, like a faucet. I was just trying to persuade Sister Emily to stop her shady business, but she wouldn't listen. Now she's trying to extort us. Extort? I pointed straight at the police officer's body camera. You're the ones who destroyed my property. Everything is recorded. James retorted shamelessly, you're making money through fraud. Smashing your store is doing justice for the people. I'd had enough. Do you have any proof I committed fraud? Be careful what you say. I'll sue you for defamation. And if you don't pay for the damages, get ready to face jail time. Realizing he'd stepped out of line, James reluctantly caved. Fine. Name your price. I'll pay for her. But all this junk isn't worth the way you're bullying Sarah. I nearly applauded his delusional courage. All right then. 5 million. The entire room gasped. Sarah looked down, her guilt barely masked. Her mother's face turned red with rage. No way, that dump of yours is worth 5 million. You're clearly trying to blackmail us. Emily Harper, you set us up. You provoked everyone on purpose just to demand money later. I'd expected this reaction. Calmly, I submitted all the valuation documents to the police. These were assessed at cost by the auction house. If you don't believe me, let's take it to court. The valuation will only increase there. After verifying the documents, the police confirmed they were authentic. Instantly, the so-called aunties turned pale. Sarah, you told us to smash everything to teach her a lesson. Now we're on the hook for millions. Sarah's mother looked horrified. What have you done, Sarah? How did you get mixed up with someone this rich? Sarah stared at the floor, completely silent. James, realizing things were spiraling out of control, stepped forward heroically. What's 5 million? I'll handle it. Sarah's expression shifted from panic to smugness. Her man was a real high roller. Thank you, James. I knew you'd never let me down. We're practically family anyway, why be so polite? I finally understood where his confidence came from. In the previous life, I'd helped him win $10 million in the lottery the very next day. James must have thought the same fortune was coming, which is why he happily signed an IOU for $5 million. The moment he did, the karma progress bar above his head ticked up to 3%. Good. He still had a long way to go. James thought saving Sarah and the others had earned him karmic points. What he didn't expect was that misfortune was just beginning. I couldn't wait to see his expression tomorrow. The next day, James Carter took Sarah to the same lottery shop as before, convinced that bringing his so-called lucky star would ensure his win. He picked the same numbers he had in his previous life and even bought 99 extra tickets, just to be sure. But when the results came out, he didn't even win $5. What the hell? What blocked my fortune, he muttered. Then it hit him last time, he had saved a drowning girl right before buying the ticket. So for the next few days, he sat by the lake with Sarah, waiting for a child to fall in. After a week of nothing, he got desperate and started trying to convince children on the street to act like they were drowning. When the parents found out, he was arrested and spent 15 days in jail. After getting out, he finally saw a girl flailing in a pool and shoved aside the lifeguard to save her. He bought another stack of lottery tickets and still won nothing. James, now frustrated, turned to Sarah. Why is my luck so bad this time? Are you really my lucky star? Sarah, feeling attacked, snapped. Don't blame me because you're unlucky. You didn't even win $5 with 100 tickets, maybe the problem's you. Then, as usual, she shifted the blame to me. It must be Emily Harper. She's interfering. So, James came crawling to me again. Look, in our last life, I pushed you off that mountain to avenge Sarah. That's in the past now. Let's forget the grudges. Don't be stubborn, just marry me already. I stared at the 5% karma bar floating above his head and laughed out loud. One sweet line from his mouth, and he thought he could wipe away a lifetime of pain and betrayal. Didn't win the lottery? Then go ask your lucky star Sarah for help. Why come to me? He thought I was jealous and gently tried to coax me. Fine, I'll let you stay close as my sister. Isn't that enough? I resisted the urge to gag. He truly thought I still had feelings for him and wanted to use the excuse of being siblings to get closer. When I refused, James lost it. You think you can control me just because we were together in a past life? As soon as Sarah and I get married, everything will turn around. You'll regret this. I smiled coolly. Can't wait to see how miserable your happy marriage turns out. James hurriedly began preparing for the wedding, convinced that marriage would change his fate. To maintain his image as a wealthy man, he called in every favor and contact he had, eventually raising $800,000. He even mortgaged the home his grandfather had worked his whole life to buy. Meanwhile, Sarah, terrified that someone might expose her fake Lucky Star status, spent $100,000 online offering a reward for a top feng shui master. And guess who picked up the job? Me. I went through great lengths to disguise myself, making sure no one would recognize me. That's how I ended up being invited to do feng shui at their wedding house. After collecting the payment, I did the standard adjustments and, right before I left, handed Sarah a little gift, a golden toad. I kindly reminded her, don't forget to take that with you next time you buy lottery tickets. Sarah's eyes lit up like a child unwrapping a gift. She really believed she could win. On the eve of their wedding, she dragged James Carter to the lottery shop, certain that the master's advice would work. And just like that, she hit a $50,000 jackpot. James Carter couldn't wait to flaunt it in front of me. See? Sarah really is my destinamy lucky star. We won the lottery the moment we decided to get married. You still won't admit it. In our past life, you stole her fate. I didn't even respond. When their wedding day came, I went deep into the forest to meditate, hoping to rid myself of all burdens and finally forget the pain of the past. I brought nothing, expected nothing, but I never thought I'd fall into a trap like that. As I sat in silence, a group of men crept up from behind. They gagged me, stripped me, tied me to a tree, and set up a phone just meters away to record everything. After degrading me, they casually started a barbecue nearby. Looking at the dry, dense vegetation, I realized their goal wasn't just humiliation, it was to burn the forest and destroy my body too. Just before I lost consciousness, I heard one of them mention Sarah's name. That's when I found out she'd used all of the $2 million from her betrothal gift not on a honeymoon, not on her new life, but to buy my death. I had always thought Sarah hadn't committed any truly unforgivable crime against me, and maybe she didn't deserve to suffer just because she got caught up with James. That's why I gave her the golden Toyota chance to change. But now, I realized that my kindness was wasted. Thankfully, a forest ranger found me before the fire reached my body. When I returned to town, James and Sarah had already completed their wedding ceremony. I looked at her radiant smile in a red cheongsam, so proud and pretty, and under her stunned gaze, I returned the full $2 million she had spent on me. "The money you used to kill me," I said, "it's not even worth it." James looked confused by the gesture. "Sarah, why did you give her so much money? Are you trying to make up for the $5 million you owe me?" He mistook Sarah's guilty silence for bashful affection and pulled her close. "We even won a honeymoon trip today. It's fate." My stomach turned. He smiled at her and said, "If I hadn't been deceived by Emily in our past life, I would have married you long ago." I clenched my fists. In their past and current lives, James Carter and Sarah Miller both owed me a life. Retribution always arrives eventually. 7 days later, I heard from them again. Sarah sent a text begging, "Master, one of my hands was cut off overseas. Can you please help get me back to China?" James followed up with a video call, tears and blood on his face. "Emily, please, save me. They took my eye. And my ear. Please bring me home." In just 7 days, the karma progress bar on James's head hit 50%. The heavens had begun collecting what was owed. Their captors demanded a ransom of $10 million. I checked my bank account. I had just enough to save one of them. Then came the question, who would I choose, the man or the woman? I didn't bother answering. I let them feel the pain of choosing each other. The gang leader locked them in the same cell and laughed. "You two are husband and wife. Decide who gets to live." James was about to speak when Sarah jumped in. "Of course me." He turned and stared at her, stunned. "I'm the one who'll have to pay the ransom later. Why should I save you first?" Sarah, full of tears, whispered, "James, didn't you promise to protect me for life?" James's mouth curled into a cruel smirk. "Didn't you promise to share joy and sorrow with me? You didn't even hesitate to throw me under the bus." Sarah pouted, "I know I'm being selfish, but I'm scared. Once I get out, I'll come back for you." James stared at her for a long moment, then suddenly muttered, "Sarah, you lied to me, didn't you?" She forced a smile, one uglier than crying. "There's no such thing as lucky star destiny, okay?" That was her nonsense. "I just took her lie, dressed it up, and told it to you. That's not deception, it's marketing." James sucked in a breath, trying to calm himself. "Why did you kill yourself to frame Emily?" Sarah laughed bitterly. "You were just dumb enough to fall for a cheap lie. I had dozens of targets, but you were the only one who got hooked." James felt as if needles were stabbing straight into his heart, each one deeper than the last. "So you're done pretending, huh?" he asked. "Now you want me to save you?" Sarah laughed. "You treated Emily Harper worse than dirt in your past life. This is your punishment, why not embrace it? Let her feel pity for you. Maybe she'll forgive you." Still stunned, James didn't respond. When the kidnappers returned, Sarah instantly shouted, "Take me first." Lin Yuan, James's captor, gave a bitter smile. "Better this way." He owes Emily a life. Let him suffer a little longer. Consider it penance. Over the next month, James used every number he could get his hands on to call me. Each time, I heard angry shouting on the other end, followed by his screams, begging for mercy. But it didn't matter. Even when I informed the police and gave them everything I had, I still couldn't save him. It wasn't until 6 months later that I saw a news report about a joint international rescue. I scrambled to gather his details and sent them to the authorities. Thanks to that, James Carter was finally brought home alive. He had learned the hard way that Sarah wasn't his lucky star, she was his personal curse. After marrying her, he not only lost his fortune, but also endured unspeakable torment. He finally realized that all the success and joy of his previous life had come from me. It was my fortune he had enjoyed, and how did he repay me? With suspicion, betrayal, and in the end murder. He pushed me off a cliff to die, all to protect a liar. He had been deaf, blind, and cruel. And he deserved everything he got. What's worse, when he first met me, he genuinely liked me. He admired my elegance and warmth. We got married less than a month after meeting. But people never know how to cherish what comes too easily. Sarah came back from abroad just after I married James Carter. She went straight to him and told him that I only married him to steal her so-called lucky star destiny. At first, he laughed it off, thinking it was some ridiculous fantasy, until she explained that, because he had stolen her fate, my life and his would flourish while hers would be filled with endless suffering. And slowly, it all seemed to come true. He started to believe it. Convinced that I had taken everything that was originally meant for Sarah, he watched her spiral into misery. Then, when she took her own life, guilt twisted into rage, and in the end, he murdered me to avenge her. No wonder I didn't care about him anymore when I was reborn. The heartbreak from that life had already shattered every last feeling I had for him. After he was brought back to China, the first thing James did was file for divorce with Sarah Miller. The second was to try everything he could to bring me back into his life. He believed that since I had provided the police with the information that saved him, it meant I still had feelings for him. So he thought he had a chance. But Sarah, who had lost an arm and now struggled just to walk, refused to let go. After being tortured for over half a year, her emotions were volatile, bordering on madness. She believed the only reason James wanted to leave her was because he'd been tempted again. Soon, she came to confront me. Her eyes were twisted with hatred and malice. "Emily Harper, why do you always try to take my man?" I stared at her, stunned by the absurdity. "What are you talking about? I didn't want him before he married you. You think I want him now after everything?" Her face contorted with jealousy. "You're lying. If you hadn't kept dangling hope in front of him, why would he think of divorcing me as soon as he came back?" I stayed calm. All I did was give the police his location. If I didn't have a shred of conscience left, I could have left both of you to rot. Sarah's lips twitched in anger. "It's your fault. We were about to get married and you kept clinging to him with your lucky star nonsense. You ruined my marriage and made me do things I regret." I looked at the woman standing with one arm missing, barely able to stand. I sighed inwardly. "In our past life, he tortured and killed me because of you. Do you really think I'd be stupid enough to fight for him in this one? He might be a treasure to you, but when I think of him, I want to tear him apart." Sarah let out a bitter laugh. "You better mean that. A scumbag like him only deserves a wicked woman like me." I had no interest in James Carter anymore. But he didn't see it that way. After returning to China, he clung to me like a shadow, as if I'd left some hidden path open for love to return. He copied how we used to be when we were happy in the past life, bringing flowers, writing poems, saying he'd survived all that suffering by remembering our love. I'll admit it, he had talent. If only he hadn't been the same man who pushed me off a cliff, maybe we could have had a fresh start. But sin can't be undone. When I looked at him missing an eye, missing an arm, his body nothing but scars, I felt nothing but cold clarity. Even then, his karmic progress bar had only reached 60%. His punishment was far from over. I told him plainly not to bother me again. Every time I see you, I said, I remember how I loved you so deeply, and how you answered that love by killing me. Do you really want to keep tearing open my wounds until I bleed in front of you? Is that what will satisfy you? The light in James Carter's one remaining eye dimmed. After that, he never came again. No more flowers. No more love letters. Just silence. And those withered petals, those crumpled poems left to rot into ash inside a dead memory. But his punishment wasn't done. After coming home, he tried to retrace his steps from the previous life. Everything he did failed. He worked harder, planned better, sacrificed more, and still couldn't achieve a fraction of his former success. Stunned and confused, he finally came to me. Why, Emily? You won't give me a second chance. Even heaven won't give me one. Is that what I am now? Worthless without you? His karmic bar had risen to 65% after all his setbacks. But I didn't tell him that in the last life, I had approached him because of Grandma Margaret's dying wish. I used the blessings I'd earned over lifetimes to help him soar, and he enjoyed it all like it was owed to him. That's why, in this life, he believed everything would come easily. That success and love should just fall into his lap again. I couldn't reveal my identity as an intern of the heavenly Tao, so I simply said, everything changes: fortune, fate, even hearts. Just because you succeeded before doesn't mean you will now. Just like someone who loved you once can hate you in the next life. He didn't answer. But later, he quietly rented a place near my shop thinking, perhaps, that proximity to me would bring him luck. Meanwhile, I spent my days doing readings and chatting with clients. My shop was always full, I had no time or energy to waste on him. Slowly, James Carter lowered his pride. All he wanted now was to survive and have enough to eat. But no matter how hard he tried, he failed over and over again. And when he was at his lowest, Sarah came to me. Her tone was sharp. What did you do to him? What potion did you use? He can't stop thinking about you and won't do anything useful. I stared at her. He can't escape heaven's punishment. Nothing he does will go right. You want better luck? Tell him to stay away from me. That's all I can say. The secrets of heaven cannot be revealed. But Sarah misunderstood me. Her eyes flared with fury. So you're the one sabotaging us. You're using black magic to ruin our lives. Do you know how miserable we are? Mr. James is our only support left. She poured out her grievances like I was the one who destroyed their lives. I looked at her, voice cold as ice. Do you still remember the golden toad I gave you? If not for that, you might not have made it back alive at all. The moment I said it, her expression changed. How is that even possible? I don't believe it. How could you be that master? Sarah's voice trembled with disbelief. Believe it or not, I said flatly, I'm not explaining anything to you anymore. But if you truly want a better life, leaving James Carter might be your only shot at changing your fate. Sarah blinked, confused for a second, then sneered. Ha! More of your manipulation. You just want me to leave him so you can have him to yourself. I sighed. Some people are determined to suffer, and there's no saving them. If Sarah wanted to destroy herself chasing a man who never truly loved her, I wasn't going to stand in the way. I wouldn't interfere with others' karma anymore. Let everyone settle their own debts and pain. Over half a year later, James Carter suddenly showed up again. His eyes held a strange hope, and he even joked, that $50,000 lottery Sarah won that was half the $100,000 you gifted. Right? I didn't know what to say at first. Then he got straight to the point. I've decided. I'm going back to Die Stady as an informant. I want to help people who've been deceived start new lives. He told me that lately, after speaking with countless victims, he realized that fortune and misfortune always balance out. I've given interviews to many reporters. Talking to these people, I finally know what I really want to do. Being an informant is dangerous, I know. I don't need your approval. I'm just telling you. Then he added, softer, the suffering I went through doesn't matter. Only by genuinely doing good, helping others, can I redeem myself. Just as he finished, Sarah burst in, wild-eyed. Emily Harper. Why didn't you stop him? He's insane, he wants to go back there. I kept my voice calm. Everyone makes their own choices. I'm not in charge of his. Desperate, Sarah snapped, if you don't stop him, I'll make you regret it. I didn't take it seriously until I saw it. The video. Me, tied to that tree in the forest. My shaved head. My battered, broken body. It spread like wildfire. People said I had a twisted fetish. News outlets speculated on my strange preferences. Online trolls dug up my past and mocked how I charged only $1 for metaphysical consultations. He must be doing something shady behind the scenes, they wrote. Don't go near him, who knows what he'll do to you. I never thought Sarah would resort to something this vicious just to stop James from leaving the country. After all, when I was rescued, I returned the entire $2 million betrothal gift to her. And she still held on to those videos. Still wanted to destroy me. Before I could even begin gathering evidence to press charges, James beat me to it. He publicly accused Sarah and demanded a formal apology. You already ruined me once, he said. Why are you still attacking the one person who helped save me? He cleared up the rumors for me, and not long after, officially filed for divorce. This time, he didn't wait for her agreement. As long as he returned to China again, the paperwork could proceed. Sarah was furious. Emily Harper. You saw how miserable we were when we got back. You didn't even try to stop him. You want him to die there, don't you? I kept my tone even. If you don't want him to go, stop him yourself. Why are you blaming me? Sarah broke down. You're the one who led us into Dai's state. You're their accomplice. I stared at her, stunned by her delusions. I had shown her nothing but kindness only to be repaid with betrayal. I no longer cared to save face. You filmed me. You released that video. I'll gather evidence and press charges. You will go to prison. And she did. While Sarah served her sentence, James Carter returned 2 years later. He had served just 1 year himself. His arms and knees were clearly injured. The progress bar over his head read 85%. It was hard to imagine what kind of hell he'd endured. And yet, compared to before, he looked brighter. Emily, he said, I helped 5 people return to China this year. Do you think that counts? Does it earn me a little merit? A little redemption? I didn't let him finish. I simply nodded. You've worked hard. When Sarah saw him, her eyes lit up. She thought he had finally found his path and everything was falling into place. She even thanked me, saying I had been wise all along. She never expected what he said next. I want to finalize our divorce. Her face fell. Why? I waited all this time, and this is what I get. Is it because you still love Emily Harper? She doesn't even care about you. Her jealousy boiled over. Why can't I ever compare to her? James didn't argue. He just moved forward with the paperwork. Before he left the country again, he came to see me. I divorced Sarah, he said. I've let go of the past. If there's any chance in this life, I'd like to start over with you. But before I could reply, he added quietly, no. I know. That's just wishful thinking. Everything I do know it's not for you. It's not to win you back. It's to make up for the life I ruined. I just hope that in the next life, I'll meet you earlier. Neither of us realized Sarah had overheard every word. The next life, she shrieked. So all our years together mean nothing. You divorced me just to hope for her in the next life. Her emotions spiraled. Why couldn't she ever compare to me? Why was she never the one he cherished? Almost overnight, Sarah made her decision. She secretly followed James abroad. She wanted to prove she was just as good. That she could go to the ends of the earth for him. That she could endure anything. I didn't expect it, didn't think they could end up together again after all that. But somehow, being far from home, with no one else to lean on, they grew closer. They understood each other's pain. Until the end. Sarah gave herself away saving a family of 3 from a criminal gang. As punishment, they hanged her body in the public park on display for 3 days and nights. When I heard the news, my hands trembled. I opened the last message she sent me. It was a picture of the golden toad I had once given her to ward off evil. And her final words, "You don't have to pity me. I know how to live a good life on my own." It was 3 years later when I saw James Carter again. His injuries were even more severe this time, his body more broken, his spirit even more subdued. The progress bar above his head had reached 96%. He told me that Sarah Miller had been discovered because she chose to protect his identity. She gave herself away to keep him safe. He returned to China for one reason, to build a tomb for her. "Emily," he said, his voice low and worn, "I know you hate us, but I still want to ask you for one last favor. If I die, bury me next to Sarah." I looked into his eye, only one left, and nodded silently. As those words left his mouth, a single tear slid down his cheek. "I owed you a life in our last life," he whispered. "And I owe her a life in this one. You were both my lucky stars and I ruined you both. I was never worthy of either of you." Before James left, he handed me everything he had left, his entire savings. He asked me to pass it on to Mr. James, his grandfather, so the old man could live out his final days in peace. When I visited the elderly man, he looked up at me with those kind, weathered eyes and asked, "Where is my son? My daughter-in-law? Why haven't they come home in all these years?" I couldn't bring myself to answer. I was afraid the truth would shatter his heart. He didn't know that Sarah was dead, and that his grandson was risking his life every day in a foreign land. Maybe it was better that way. Let him believe they were still alive, still well. That they were simply living abroad and would return one day. At least hope could comfort him. But I didn't expect that my silence would lead to a fatal mistake. A human interest TV program focused on lonely elderly people longing to see their families again. Somehow, a reporter found Mr. James and asked him to be featured. During the interview, he mentioned how his grandson and his grandson's wife had gone abroad years ago and hadn't contacted him since. He said he didn't need their money, didn't need them to take care of him in his old age, he just wanted to see them once more before he died. Just once. At the end of the program, they aired a photo, one of James Carter and Sarah Miller. I never imagined that that photo would cost James his life. The moment it aired, James was tracked down. In that foreign land, he was executed by the same people he had once tried to infiltrate. They buried him alive, in a pit right next to Sarah's body. Their final punishment, let husband and wife sleep together, in life and in death. And so, James Carter and Sarah Miller, who owed me a life, paid their debt. The karmic cycle was complete. Cause and effect had come full circle. And at last was free. Not even 10 million could change that.